Audi Crooks may be the most dominant player in women's college basketball right now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm Kalia Butler. Joined alongside me is Sophia Jones. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? Great question, as always. We're going to get into the USA women's basketball team who is reporting to Durham to kind of kickstart what their roster may or may not look like, kind of a tryout in a way. We'll get into that. We're going to spotlight some teams who are breaking records and creating history at their respective schools. But first, we have to talk about that Iowa and Iowa State game, which was a really fun one to watch. Iowa State winning 74-69 against the Hawkeyes, and they remain undefeated they just remain undefeated, but Audi Crooks obviously leading the way for this group. And I, first of all, learned many things about Audi Crooks yesterday. And second of all, as I mentioned in our open, when I was watching her play, I was like, oh, this girl may be one of the most dominant players in college basketball right now. And her stat line proves it. She had a 30-point performance, 10 rebounds, and is now averaging 27.8 points and shooting 72% from the field, which is second in Division I. She's also doing that in just about 25 minutes of play on average as well. Let's just remember that. Sophia, what did you like most about Audi Crooks' performance?
She just has such a great combination using her strength and body control that essentially leads to players bouncing off of her to finish efficiently around the rim. She's adding a little bit of a fadeaway to her game as well when she isn't all the way down low on the block, so she can operate well in that mid-range. Love to see that shot continue to develop from her, but she essentially single-handedly messed up Iowa's game plan because she put their front court into foul trouble. It was so early. So between Hayden and Stolke, they both had to defend her. They both ended up just having to play very limited minutes because they couldn't stop her essentially. And Audi Crooks just took advantage of all of it, even towards the end of the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, you saw those two defending her and playing extremely conservatively because they couldn't afford to pick up any more fouls. But when you take those players out of the equation, not only just guarding them, but you limit their impact on the offensive end because you just can't have them on the floor. And maybe you also have caused them to second guess how aggressive they're being on that end of the floor as well. So Audi Crooks just does such a great job, influence the game in so many ways other than that efficient scoring, but it is just mic and drill purely.
You're absolutely right. Two of her best attributes truly are probably going to be her strength and her size, because it does impact how you are going to play against her defensively. And what we were most looking forward to in this Iowa State matchup was obviously between her and Hayden, who, as you mentioned, got into foul trouble because you're trying to send multiple people down on her. I mean, once she gets low and below, when she's by the block, it's very difficult to stop her. She has improved her footwork since last season. We've seen her turn around and hit fadeaway shots. And another part of her game that I love so much is she has such a pretty shot. It's literally like such a beautiful rainbow arch. But again, that's also very hard to defend against because she has such a beautiful shot. She has that footwork and she has such a soft touch around the rim that she finishes very efficiently. So when you're sending multiple players down against her. It's truly, you're just wishing for the best and hoping that she's kind of giving up on the fight during that play, because she will go and battle and bounce against you. So fantastic game. Sorry, go ahead. I know you have something to say.
No, just with the different coverages that Iowa was trying to play against, that entire defense just gets sucked into whatever Audi Crooks is going to do in the paint. They were fronting her a lot of the time, so they were putting the bigger defender up front and then just heavy weak side help to try to prevent that lob over. But so much credit to Iowa State, specifically Jada Williams, for doing the perfect post-entry lob passes to get it into Audi Crooks, who then did the rest of the work and has great hands to catch and finish. But Iowa, they also, when they were flowing and trying to prevent that pass from going in, they were applying solid on-ball pressure, because that is the first line of defense. You want to obfuscate the guard's vision so that that lob pass is as difficult as possible. But like I said, Iowa State, they made some really great passes, and you can really tell that that's something that they work on in practice all the time.
And you mentioned Jada Williams, some of this, let's say, supporting cast for Iowa State around Audi Crooks, who, first of all, always puts her team above herself. But Jada Williams had 12 assists in that game. And I think what I loved most between the tandem between Jada Williams and Audi Crooks was you can see how well they have meshed together and how they understand each other's games. Another part of Audi Crooks is that she is a really great rim runner. She is going to get down the court, and you can see her in multiple occasions kind of lifting her hands, telling Jada Williams exactly where she wants the ball. And you can just see that that worked for them on multiple occasions. So they have great communication with each other. But also when you have that duo, and Jada Williams loves to feed her bigs, Iowa State looks really good, but you also have to add Addie Brown into that conversation, who had a really significant game too. She stretched the floor. She had 20 points, 12 rebounds. What did you like about her game too?
Well, like you said, she can stretch the floor, a little bit more mobile, so it provides that perfect complement to Audi Crooks, who's more paint-centric. Not that Addie Brown can't go in and post up and get her own buckets down low as well. We saw her do that this past game and this whole season, but just having that ability to stretch out, put it on the floor a little bit more, shoot the three, it just drags that extra front court defender out of the paint so they can't crowd it as much for Audi Crooks.
I just have to mention this too, because they said it on the broadcast, and I guess I just hadn't really noticed before. Audi Crooks literally checks herself into the game. I did not see that beforehand. When she's tired, she usually plays at least a minimum of 5 straight minutes. Once she's hit that mark and she wants to go take a rest, she's going to go take a rest. But then whenever she feels like the team needs her, she is rested and ready to go, she just goes and checks herself in. And that was the most fascinating fact I think I found out about the entire game.
No, same. Having that kind of trust and confidence that the coach puts in you, I think, is not something that we see very often in sports in general. So I think that's just a testament to the amount of work that Audi Crooks has done. And she does play significant minutes. And so, especially for a big, when you talk about her rim running and battling down low, that type of physicality can really wear you out when you're battling for positioning. It really goes to show that she's in really good shape as well, which is huge for a team that plays fast or looks really strong when they play fast.
Well, Iowa State taking over the state of Iowa in the Cyhawks Challenge. Right after this, we are going to get into some of the top teams that should be on your radar who are breaking records at their schools. The World Cup is coming to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging tickets. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Game Time. New year, new systems. And this is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of running a business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. If you're ready to make your workday smoother and keep customers connected without the headaches, Quo makes upgrading your setup easier than ever. A streamlined system that makes such a big difference when communicating with your customers. It's surprisingly easy. You can work from your phone or computer, keep your existing number, and add teammates in just minutes. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Sorry, Sophia.
Okay.
Had to add her back to the chat. Some team spotlights within the NCAA. First off, the University of Illinois are off to the best start since 1981. They won an annual rivalry game over Missouri, 70-62 on Wednesday night in Columbia. And they are off to 9-1 to start the season, which I mentioned is the program's best 10-game start in a year in more than 4 decades since that 1981-82 season. In that game, you have some stars for Illinois, Gretchen Dolan, who had 21 points, 2 rebounds. But I have to mention an Illinois native in Destiny Jackson, who had 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. Mind you, Destiny Jackson is about yay big, but she is going to cross you up. She's going to put the ball on the floor. She's Miss Illinois basketball. She came from Whitney Young, so she's in the city. Had to give her a shout out and what she's doing in just her freshman year.
Definitely. Look, put respect on us smaller guards. I'm 5'6". I was a point guard. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like when you're lower to the ground, that's where the majority of your shiftiness comes in. But Illinois, they have some solid wins against Power 5 schools. And in a so competitive Big Ten conference, they're another team that, you look at and you can't underestimate.
Oklahoma, another team who tonight is actually looking for their 9th straight win. This is the 3rd longest under head coach Jenny Baranczyk, and just one shy of her best mark at OU, as the Sooners have won 9 straight twice under the 5th-year coach. So she is looking to continue making history for herself. But we have to give out a shout out to Aaliyah Chavez as well, who's continued to stand out. As we've seen, she's earned the USBWA National Freshman of the Week, SEC Freshman of the Week, NCAA Starting 5 of the Week recognition, and AP National Player of the Week honorable mention. And this was just all on Tuesday. She had 33 points in their win over NC State. This is a player that you've mentioned before. Sophia, what do you love so much about Aaliyah Chavez?
Well, she was such a highly rated recruit going into college, and she has that confidence and flashiness to her game, that just overall swag, I think would be a good way to put it, where she gets the ball and every shot that she takes, it just looks like she's in her comfort zone. And that's why we're seeing the kinds of numbers that she's currently putting up. I'd love to see the 4 assists, especially when you have a Reagan Beers down low. That's an easy post entry feed. But for her to be doing it at this level against solid opponents and consistently is just huge. I think that she gives that Oklahoma team, a really young squad, a perfect just overall energy and scoring boost.
As you mentioned, a really highly rated incoming freshman. She has now collected 3 SEC Freshman of the Week honors already. And we're only a couple of weeks into the season. Really excited to see her and Oklahoma play this weekend. We'll touch a little bit more on that tomorrow. But Maryland also just had a crazy game against Delaware State where they won 91-21. Maryland is on a 9-0 at home record for the first time since the 2020-21 season when they were a perfect 10-0 at home. Maryland has won 26 straight non-conference games at home dating back to 2022 versus then number 1 South Carolina, also impressive. And 12-0 is one of the best starts they've had in program history too.
12-0, currently ranked number 7, and that's a very, very solid number 7. They had some really quality wins over some really big time opponents, most notably Kentucky when they were doing a Thanksgiving tournament. But Maryland has they've really persevered. They had a couple injuries. They've gotten hit by the injury bug a little bit with some players going in and out of the lineup. So for them to just have this undefeated record is a real testament to their resiliency and honestly the coaching as well. I think they're going to be a team that no one is going to want to play down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Another team we have to add to the list is Arizona State, who led by first-year head coach Molly Miller has achieved the best start in program history. They are currently 11-0 after a recent win against Penn State. But this is a 33-year-old record of 9-0 held by the 1992 to 93 squad. So we're seeing some of these records being broken from the early 90s. But what do you like about this Arizona State team, and what can we look out for as we approach conference for them?
I think you have to give so much credit to Molly Miller. She was the head coach of Grand Canyon University last season, one of the best mid-majors in the country. So she took that leap to Arizona State and is doing a fantastic job. This same Sun Devils team would probably, I think you could say, underperformed last season. They were towards the bottom of the Big 12, and now they're undefeated towards the top against some wins against some really quality opponents. So, yeah, I just think Molly Miller has done a great job. You look at a transfer like last year, Poa from LSU. She's been a great boost for that team. And just, I think, having some of the newness also helps to inject a new fire and energy to a Arizona State team that has seen a lot of success historically.
We also have to give a bit of a mid-major alert shout out as well as an Ivy League shout out. Princeton is coming off first a win against Rutgers, which was 81-63. They're currently sitting at 10-0 on the season. Their only loss from the season is coming to Maryland, who, as we mentioned, is currently ranked 7th. But they've beaten Villanova, Georgia Tech, Penn State, Rhode Island, which, if you guys remember, is a team that beat NC State, who has also been within the top 25 rankings. They beat DePaul as well as Seton Hall. So played a lot of Big East schools, sprinkled in some Big Ten. But we love being smart and also very good at basketball.
We really do. We love it when they're really epitome of a student athlete. And Princeton, they're always one of those teams. I think when you look at the Ivies, you think of Princeton, Columbia, maybe Harvard that are at that top tier in the Ivies and have good chances to make and even go a little deep in the NCAA tournament. But Princeton right now looking really good. I think you look at some of the alumni like Caitlin Chen, who went to UConn. So they've produced a lot of talent.
Exciting to see. We're going to see some interesting matchups for them as they approach their own Ivy League season. Coming up, USA Women's National Team is heading to Duke.
Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more, quote, walking it off, end quote, for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and Zocdoc makes that easier than ever. Because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. Using Zocdoc makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and book right in the app. Real appointment times are listed, including same-day visits. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to Zocdoc.com/lockedonnba to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's Zocdoc.com/lockedonnba. Zocdoc.com/lockedonnba.
A little bit of a tongue twister.
It really was. I was like, whoa, this was getting a little much.
To be fair, I've used Zocdoc multiple times. Very easy to use. Big fan.
Honestly, I'm thinking myself, and I have like my peppermint tea right here. If anything is ever like wrong with me, I just drink tea. And so sometimes tea just doesn't cut it. I know that's like, whoa, wow. Sometimes tea and ginger ale doesn't cut it though. You gotta go see it.
The ginger ale is so real. And certain people just may have to relate to that. If you get it, you get it. But the USA Women's National Team has head to Durham, North Carolina. I don't know if you guys have noticed, sometimes I like to combine words together. It is what it is. But they're holding training camp starting tomorrow, December 12th through the 14th as they prepare for the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup, which will be held in Berlin. This year's group is going to be overseen by Duke head coach Carol Lawson, as well as Sue Bird, who this is going to be her first time that she is the managing director of the camp. And essentially, she is going to be the one that is putting the roster together. If you don't know Sue Bird, I'm a little concerned. However, 4-time Olympic gold medalist. She also just got her jersey retired at UConn, and head coach Gino Auriemma has said that she is the best point guard in basketball history, and that goes for men's and women's. I love me some Sue Bird. I'm also really excited to see how she's going to structure these rosters.
I am too. I feel like in general, Sue Bird has had one of the best athlete retirement careers that I've seen, just between her podcast, Megan Rapinoe, just wherever, if something's going on, she's just there popping up, smiling. And so I think this is right up her alley. And obviously I'm preferential towards that point guard mind, but I feel like for a player like Sue Bird, when you talk about point guards and just some of the highest IQs that have ever played the game, she is right in that top of the list. And having that a high IQ, I think it will really benefit this team USA to have that expertise.
Yeah, I mean, as obvious as it is, like Sue Bird knows the game of basketball and she knows it incredibly well. And I think a big part of this too, which we've seen in the WNBA, obviously between the players and the commissioner, having a former player like Sue Bird take part of this and essentially control what's going on, I feel like is so significant because she is somebody that really values relationships. And you can tell that players love Sue Bird. I feel like it's really hard not to like her when she's in your face smiling and just has the most like joyful and delightful personality around her. But some players that are going to be at this training camp, you have 5 gold medalists that are back specifically from the Paris Olympics in Copper. Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, who is a Duke grad, Jackie Young, and Brittany Griner. And then you have 10 players who are making their first senior national camp appearance, which is Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, Cameron Brink, Rakia Jackson, Veronica Burton, Kiki Iriafen, Lauren Betts, who obviously is still at UCLA, but she did make the trip. Aaliyah Boston will be there, as well as Juju Watkins, who is obviously injured and recovering from her ACL tear. But some really exciting, fresh faces on top of a list of veterans that have gotten the job done in years prior.
Definitely. And with kind of the 10 players that are making their first senior national camp appearance, a lot of these players have been on USA rosters in the past, but just a younger division, essentially. So like an under 21 and under 19 team. And so they've already built some of that camaraderie. And I'll be really interested to see if it transfers over again, despite the fact that for the majority of them, they are in the WNBA now. But I hope that it does. I think I feel like I remember, just because I was in the same recruiting class as some of these players and looking at the Team USA and stuff, and just seeing all the TikToks and videos that they always make when they're traveling on the road, just hanging out with each other. And I think that just for Team USA women's basketball, it's such a bonding experience as well. And so that'll be great for the young players, and also for the young players to have some of these veterans to just look and learn from.
You speak about like the making videos. I think what I love most is seeing some like the throwback photos that come up during these times too. I don't know if people saw the Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart one when they were both on Team USA, and it was them like looking out the window. They're like, we're 4 stories up, like just so pure. But you talk about that bonding. I'm excited to see this younger generation of players start to bond and form those really long-term connections too that you mentioned. And another photo that I don't know if people saw, I don't know if it was necessarily like a Team USA thing, but I think recently there was a photo going around of the team that Angel, Paige, and AZ Fudd were all on. At first, I was like, this is AI. No way they were all on the same team together. But it's great seeing those kind of reconnections of getting to be with each other instead of just playing against each other. And I think now is a time that bonding is so important, especially with what's going on within the WNBA, to just really connect and be all together front. I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm really, again, curious to see what Sue Bird will do with this roster, because I feel like it's going to be really hard to select from these players.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily want to be in that position, but even looking a couple years ahead, this is going to be the squad that will be presenting the United States in the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup. But this could be a very similar roster structure to what we see in the next 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. And we already know that the French are coming. The French women, who knows what Dom Malonga is going to look like in those next couple years. So I think Team USA needs to develop a real squad. They definitely have that, but this is a early tryout for the tryout, basically.
Basically, the Avengers are assembling to take down Dom Malonga and the French when they come to LA. But that'll do it for us today on Locked On Women's Basketball. Stay tuned tomorrow, because we're going to go over some really exciting matchups to watch